lot of young people feel that we already live under a dictatorship because we participate in the ritual of an election where we go to the ballot box and we put our cross in the box and so on. And we watch as the public-facing element of government changes and the people who go on, question time and Prime Minister's questions, that all changes. But actually the fundamental direction of travel does not. There is a sense that, the element of government that we elect are not the ones actually calling the shots. Because if you actually look into it, over 500,000 people work for the civil service. We don't elect these people. We have no say over who they are. And we have no say, it feels to us, over the direction they're taking the country in. As you've said already, I think a lot of young people feel failed by the current system. We can't afford decent housing. We are subject to overcrowded, overpriced rented accommodation. We work jobs where we feel like cogs in a machine to be taxed to fund these policies and programs that don't seem to benefit us in any conceivable way. We feel a complete lack of belonging and identity in this country as we walk streets that are, crowded with people that we don't recognise, whose language we don't understand. Our neighbours, we don't trust our neighbours. We can't speak to our neighbours. We don't know our neighbours. And so there is a sense that Britain is not somewhere that's, a particularly good place for young people to live.
Charlie, that might all be true, but it's still a big step to go from I don't like how the system is treating people like me or young people like me to I don't think we should bother with elections. I mean, that is quite a leap. Now, there'll be lots of people out there, dissatisfied Democrats, who will say the system isn't working for me, Labour, Tory, you get the same. But actually, I still fundamentally believe in democracy. Are you saying that a big chunk of Gen Z, of Zoomers like yourself, are just saying, actually, democracy itself isn't working out for us anymore?
2 points. The first is, as I've already said, a lot of people feel like we don't live in a democracy now. And it's not a question of transitioning into a dictatorship. We're already there. And so if that's going to be the case, if we're going to have a non-democratic system, we might as well have one that favours us and puts our interests first.
So you genuinely believe that we're living in some form of dictatorship now? Because, just to be frank, I mean, we have general elections. We broadly still have free speech, free expression. Many people watching the show will point to challenges around that. We have local elections. We have devolved assembly elections. We have the rule of law. We have a judiciary, which on the surface at least would say, it's independent and serving the people. I mean, you don't honestly think we are living in a dictatorship?
Well, if you look into the various arms of the state in Britain, it doesn't begin and end with the elected, people in Parliament that we see. The regime, the power structure that governs Britain extends far beyond that. It goes into the education system. It goes into even the corporate HR departments, because they are occupied by fundamentally the same type of people who believe in the same vision of what good governance looks like, what a good world looks like. And they use the language of consensus, the language of inevitability, as Blair did.
Sure.
Globalisation is inevitable. Sure. The question is whether we get on board or are left behind. The same language is used to talk about demographic change, to talk about mass immigration, to talk about egalitarian social policies when it comes to, homosexuality, LGBT and so on. The same language is used to talk about net zero and climate change.
You look at Germany at the moment, the whole debate over immigration is changing. You look at Donald Trump in America, the whole system is changing. Surely that's an example of how you can change the direction of travel within a democracy.
And this is the point. I'm not here to defend dictatorship, because I fundamentally agree with you that we can solve the problems we face with democracy. Because if you look at Trump, he was elected. However, he is not governing as a Democrat. He's not governing by consensus. He is using executive authority, and he's not apologising for it. He's not asking questions. He's not backing down. He is acting. And that's, I think, what this poll, the impulse that it represents, is a desire for leadership like that in Britain, where the leaders are not going to apologise for putting British interests first, where the leaders are not going to ask for permission to do things that are fundamentally good for this country.